BA, let me know when we've allowed folks in.
You can start.
Okay. All right. We are going to start right on time. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here tonight. I know it means a lot to me and to the rest of the candidates to care enough about NAHJ that you want to hear from them. My term officially ends at the conference in Vegas, but I'm here to tell you that you're going to be in really good hands, judging from all of the candidates that you're going to be hearing from shortly. They are all eager to serve NAHJ and to keep us moving forward and to build on the momentum of these last 2 years. So we have 12 candidates running for 10 offices. Only 2 races are contested, the VP broadcast and the general at large. We're going to keep it to a really simple format tonight. I'm going to introduce the candidate. They will have 3 or 4 minutes to address you. We gave the candidate for president and those in the 2 contested races an extra minute to make their case. A reminder that the elections are electronic and you should receive your ballot by email this Saturday morning, so you can vote already. And the election will end at 5 p.m. Saturday, August 6th at the conference, and the winners will be announced that night at our annual Hall of Fame Gala. So we know your time is valuable, so let's go ahead and get to it. Let's hear now from your candidate for president, Yvette Cabrera.
Thank you, Nora. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvette Cabrera, NHJ's Vice President for Digital and a senior reporter at the Center for Public Integrity. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to lay out why I'm running to serve as your next president, what I hope to achieve if you elect me, and why I'm committed to earning your support and vote, because I believe we need to be united to address all of the issues we're facing in this era of unprecedented attacks on journalists. Last year, as I represented NHJ on the California campaign to defend press freedoms as part of a statewide coalition, there was a point where I was watching and rewatching the video recordings we were compiling of journalists, many of them journalists of color, who were being thrown to the ground, handcuffed, and arrested by police as they were trying to do their jobs covering protests and marches. Nothing alarmed me more than to hear a sheriff's deputy tell one journalist, "Do as you're told if you're a reporter," and to see Latino journalists like Adolfo Guzman López with a huge welt on his neck from where a police rubber bullet hit him while he was covering a march. I see these press attacks as a symptom of the larger problem that's plaguing our industry, including the uphill battle Latino journalists have faced in our efforts to diversify America's newsrooms. Frankly, we hear the same excuses, or we hear newsrooms who say the right words but don't do the right thing. So until we reach newsroom parity, our work here is not done. Beyond parity, we have to ensure that members are supported once they're hired into a newsroom, that their presence in reporting and voice changes the way newsrooms have done business for so long, ignoring communities of color, misrepresenting our narratives, or simply failing to go beyond superficial coverage to investigate the problems we're facing. It's always important to ask, what are we fighting for? What do we stand for? And how can we achieve parity once and for all? I believe it's by using all the tools we have as journalists to get that message across until we see action. It's why I support making that advocacy work a key part of what the next board does. And it's why this current board made advocacy a priority in our strategic plan, a plan that will serve as a guide for my presidency. That means coming to the defense of our members when they're fighting for pay equity at the Arizona Republic, when they're petitioning the LA Times to hire more Latinos into its investigative ranks, when CBS fails to hire a Latina to oversee one of its most important bureaus in the country. Working in alliance with each other and our affinity groups, we can press for more Latinos in newsroom management positions who will change the trajectory that we've been on for decades. Promises, pledges, but no lasting results. I'll work to establish a robust chapter to national advocacy plan where we work with our chapter and regional leaders to listen to and prioritize the most pressing issues and find solutions, be it calling on newsrooms to change and providing more mentoring and leadership skills through initiatives such as a Latina Leadership Training Academy we hope to launch for our members and to groom our chapter leaders to call for that change. This is about harnessing the power of us and creating what I see as a next generation to carry on this fight, no matter who is serving as president of NAHJ. Finalmente, soy orgullosa de ser hija de inmigrantes mexicanos que vivieron su vida luchando para alcanzar sus sueños, ganar un sueldo digno, poder darle a sus hijas una educación universitaria, darnos las oportunidades que nunca tuvieron en México porque crecieron en la pobreza, pero siempre usando el poder de su voz para tomar control de su destino. Y eso es lo que haré como su presidenta, echándole ganas y trabajando juntos para lograr nuestras metas. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Yvette. I forgot to say that we expect this to take about 45 to 50 minutes, and then at the end, we will allow for some questions from the audience. We'll have about a 15-minute or so opportunity at the end for questions. Next, we will hear from Blanca Rios, who's running for secretary.
My apologies. I am, first of all, just want to let you know I am on vacation and in a park, a public park, so might be some surprises. But I just want to, first of all, thank everyone for being here and listening to us. It's been an honor and a rewarding experience to serve as your secretary just this last term. And just like the rest of the world, the board was challenged by the pandemic, but we've accomplished a lot, including strengthening our advocacy work and hiring a new executive director. After a lot of thought and reflection, I've decided to run for re-election. I've been an NAHJ member since 2013. I owe a lot to the organization. It's helped me become a better newsroom watchdog and has helped me build a network of friends and colleagues. Just a little bit about myself. I am from Chicago and I've only ever worked in the Chicago market, and I'm based there, and I work at ABC 7 News as a digital producer and a news writer. My first entry into the NAHJ world was at the NAHJ Chicago chapter after we reinstated, and I became the founding secretary and then later their chapter president. So that was at a local level, and at a national level, I was a regional director, Region 6 director, and now you're a secretary nationally. So during my last term, I've worked on a lot of behind the scenes NAHJ business while serving on the executive board. I've yet to meet any of my fellow board members in person because of the pandemic, but we've really grown a close bond, being on Zoom almost on a weekly basis at one point. And we spend a lot of, communication virtually via calls and emails, and I can't wait to meet them at this year's conference. I would like to step up my role though this time around as secretary. One of my goals is to create a more streamlined connection to our local chapters. As I told you, I was a chapter president, so I know firsthand what it's like to serve at the local level, and I know the challenges that are faced there. And my plan is to work with each of the regional directors and NAHJ staff members to strengthen our communication channels within the chapter leaders. And I want the chapter's executive members to be more engaged in our activities and our board meetings, as well as help identify rising stars for future board positions. Our strategic planning committee is researching ways to improve our membership engagement, and I would like this to be a priority of our membership committee, which I hope to be more involved in this next term. I think everybody can agree that our NAHJ members are rock stars, and we need to make sure we are all seen and heard. I recently became a part of the rapid response team, something that I would like to be a more proactive member, group member of. They're working really hard to advocate and be a voice for members who might not normally come forward, and we want to make sure that NAHJ is a group that our fellow journalists can feel comfortable contacting and knowing that we can speak for them on their behalf. Lastly, I'm a dedicated, organized, and hardworking, and I usually do it all with a smile on my face. I would like, or at least I would hope so, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in August. And yo también hablo español y yo también le voy a echar ganas y a ver cómo lo hacemos para la próxima. Gracias.
Thank you, Blanca. Next, we will hear from Arelis Hernandez, who's running for VP Print.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. It's always a treat to be with members, to talk with you all, and to share a little bit of the vision that we're assembling for NAHJ. The last time I did this, I alluded to NAHJ as a beloved family member who needed a bit of help, or another metaphor. I use lots of metaphors. Another metaphor I used was a vehicle or beloved car that needed some work under the hood. And I'll tell you what, these past 2 years, we've learned a lot of what needs to happen with NAHJ under the hood. And a lot of it wasn't glamorous. A lot of it was countless hours of going back and forth and things that unfortunately members don't always get to see because they happen at all kinds of strange hours. But let me tell you that the work that has been done to conceptualize a strategic plan, to think through processes and protocols that would help NAHJ professionalize its internal operations of the board, that is, has really been astounding. And part of that has resulted in, the national search that we conducted for the new driver in our seat, which is David Peña. If you would allow me, I would love another chance, another 2 years, to not just identify where the kinks are in NAHJ, but to finally get into, fixing them. We found a few more kinks under the hood as we were trying to look into, the ways in which we could modernize the organization. And there's quite a bit of work done left. If you'll allow me, if you'll permit me, I would love to continue to do that work. One of the ways is through the strategic planning process that Yvette has alluded to. I'd love to see that come into fruition. The other way is the bylaws. I know the bylaws committee hasn't been fully flourishing, and that's because I've been doing a lot of research and trying to figure out the most efficient way to make things happen. Well, I think we're getting close, and we should be, and if I will have the privilege of being reelected, you should get information on that fairly soon. And it will be a full-fledged communications campaign that will be coming up next. The other thing I want to say is to those mid-career and mid to late career journalists who may be interested in managing, we have some things coming for you. If you let us stay here in the driver's seat alongside, well, in the passenger seat with David in this machine moving forward, we've got some exciting things coming. And for those of you who are not interested in management, mid-career folks, we're going to try and explore other ways for you to exercise your full potential and seek out your full flourishing and find out different pathways for yourself and the kinds of things that you can do in journalism that would be fulfilling. Finally, the one constant has been membership engagement. It's a conundrum that we have yet to figure out, but we are dedicated to finding better ways to reach out to you all to get your input into the operations that take place or the discussions that happen within the board. We need you. That's it. We need you to engage with us. We know that the last 2 years were a complete aberration of what we know about journalism and what's been happening in recent history, but we're asking, we're pleading, we're trying to model the behavior that would be necessary for you all to hang out with us a while, help us figure this stuff out. We're a membership organization. We do this because of you and for you, and we would love to hear more and more about you, even if it's sometimes hard to hear. We want to hear you. We want to hear. So please, if anything, if you take away from this, make this an opportunity to recommit yourself to NAHJ and its operations and to help us do this, because we can't do it without you.
Thank you, Arelis. Next, we will hear from Julio Cesar Chavez, who is running for re-election as VP Broadcast.
Thank you, Nora. Hi, everyone. My name is Julio Cesar Chavez, and I'm running for re-election for a second term as Vice President of Broadcast. I first ran for the board 2 years ago when the elections were canceled because, frankly, it was wrong to cancel the elections, and I wanted to steer the NAHJ in a member-focused direction. I'm asking you for a second term so we can better serve our membership in direct ways. Now, I've learned a lot in the past 2 years, and I want to put that experience to good use. As Vice President, I help provide hostile environment training, which has helped keep our journalists safe in dangerous situations like protests and natural disasters. As part of the executive board, we conducted the search for and the hiring of a new executive director. We devoted hours and hours to the running of the organization, including weekly meetings to deal with administrative issues in the year without an executive director. I've helped the NHA staff get raises and push for better benefits for them. I've also pushed for and secured more board transparency with public and recorded Zoom meetings anytime the board makes a formal decision. And I'm trained in the strategic plan, so I know where our organization is headed for the next 5 years. Now, the initiative I'm most proud of is the Freelance Map project. I'm currently working on this, and it would be a portal to get our freelancers directly hired by nationwide newsrooms and to get our members paid. That project is still in the works. You can see the full details here. I just dropped the link in the chat. As you can see from the member comments, we have collected freelancers and editors really love the idea. Now, like I said, I've learned a lot in the past 2 years, and I want to put that experience as an executive board member to good use. For the next 2 years, I have one goal: get NHJ members more jobs and better pay. There's no way to do this for free, so I'm focusing on things that can benefit our members the most with efficient cost. I want to provide bilingual drone training and pay for federal tests so photographers and videographers can get their drone pilot license. Let's give our students summer scholarships so they can afford to take internships in expensive cities and make the connections they need to get hired. For radio, let's have trainings on how to transition from traditional radio into podcasts, panels on learning the rules of archival tape and how it can help in audio reports, and have workshops for members to discuss the best ways to do bilingual radio reporting. The conference itself should be accessible by everyone, even if you can't afford a $2,000 trip to Vegas or Miami. That means researching and implementing a digital pass. And I know this is going to make some managers on here uncomfortable, but I also want to provide union training so that we can help NHJ members who want to unionize their newsrooms for better pay and benefits. If you would like to learn more, please check out my platform at juliocesarfornhj.com and chat with me directly. I am going to have a Twitter space going live right now as soon as this forum is over. So you can click on this link, or you can just check me out on Twitter. I'm at Julio Cesar Chavez. So I want to lead initiatives that get results, and I hope to earn your vote in this election. Now, me queda poquito más de un minuto, entonces vamos a hablar un poco de detalles. Para la licencia de pilotos remotos, juntaríamos un grupo de pilotos ya certificados y entre nosotros escribiríamos una guía de estudio bilingüe usando nuestra experiencia. La guía estaría disponible para cualquier miembro y luego cuando estén sacando un 85% varias veces en exámenes de práctica, la NHJ les pagaría el examen en sí, que son $175. Con las becas de verano. En el periodismo, en nuestra industria, las prácticas e internados son la forma que la gente termina con trabajo. Yo quiero ser la red de apoyo que nuestros estudiantes necesitan para tomar el riesgo de conseguir un internado en NPR o LA Times o cualquier otra agencia nacional, irse un verano a esas ciudades caras, porque sí son caras, y no tener que preocuparse de cómo van a pagar la renta o cómo van a comprar comida. Now, obviously, I don't know everything that our members go through, and that's where advisory committees come in. My advisory committees will be group chats, one for radio, one for local TV, one for production, one for photographers and videographers, with representation across different market levels and from across the country. Keep each other informed of what happens and how we can best serve our NHJ membership. If you like what I have done for the NHJ and you want to help our members together, please click on this link to show your support on Twitter. I am prepared to do this job. Let's choose experience and serve the NHJ together. Re-elect Julio Cesar Chavez for NHJ Vice President of Broadcast.
Thank you, Julio Cesar. Next, we will hear from Daniela Ibarra, who is running for VP Broadcast.
Hi, everybody. I am so sorry I'm late. I'm a working journalist, so I was live right at 6. So as soon as I was done with my live shot, I hopped on here, and I just wanted to tell you how much I love NHJ. I've been a member of NHJ since I was a student, and this was the first professional organization that really took me into their arms and welcomed me and always made me feel supported. This was the first organization I went to a conference for. This is the first organization that gave me a leadership position. I was a student rep back in 2017, and NHJ really just made me a success. It provided me with mentors. I got my job through NHJ, so I know how NHJ can work to help me, and I want to help others. So I want to serve as VP of broadcast for 5 reasons. And one of the things about me is I really don't like to spend money. I like to do things as low cost as possible, or not cost to you at all. So one of the first things that I want to do is create training specifically for us reporters targeting safety and mental health. I know we've covered a lot of tough stories. I know here in Tulsa, I covered a mass shooting, and that was really hard to cope with. And I know a lot of you guys in your markets, you've covered some really tough stories too. And I want to help provide the training to learn how to cope with those feelings and provide resources for you. I'm also an MMJ, so I know how scary it is to be out in the field by yourself. So I want to provide training specifically for MMJs to see how to give you a toolbox to succeed in the field, especially when you're by yourself. You're literally doing everything by yourself. So I want to give you the tools to do that. I also want to connect our new broadcasters with our veterans. I feel like we learn the best from each other, and especially our veterans who really paved the way for us. I know NHJ has done that for me, especially with my mentors. And I believe there's a free way to connect you guys with each other. I know when I was a student, it was a little scary connecting with mentors or reaching out to people. And I want to create the bridge to be able to help you do that. Another thing that I really want to focus on is our radio and our audio members. I've spoken to a lot of you guys before I even started running. And one thing that I heard a lot and time again was that radio and audio journalists, they felt like they were ignored by NAHJ. I think that needs to change. I'm a TV person. I can't say that I have an expertise in audio, and that's why I want to rely on our audio members to help come up with a guide plan for that. I do want to provide some sessions that are specifically tailored to our radio people to help you pitch, help you. I really want to listen to our audio members to see what exactly they want, because like I said, I'm a TV person. I can't assume that I know what audio people want. And for our freelancers, I know that it is really hard to break into freelancing. And once you're in it, it's always a challenge to, get to the next job. And I want to help provide you with a guidebook to connect with other members so that way you can continue to succeed. I want to provide round the clock training, round year, I should say, training to help you with things like how to pitch and how to legally cover yourself as a journalist on the job. And I also want to help our Spanish language members. Yo quiero pelear para ti. Yo sé que muchos de los que trabajan en medios donde hablan español, no, como en Dallas, no lo pagan suficiente como a los que hablan inglés. Y sorry, my English is a little, or my Spanish is a little there, but yo quiero investigar por qué no pagan suficiente como los de inglés saben, porque yo sé que ustedes tienen el expertise para hacer el mismo trabajo, sino mejor que ellos. And I really wouldn't be running if I didn't believe that I can make change. And I really hope that you can put your trust in me to help serve as your voice as VP of broadcast. And I just really hope that if you have any questions, you reach out to me. I'm always available on Twitter, via email, and I'll make sure to drop my email in here. But I really believe that I can make a change for you and that I can be a voice for you. And I am someone who is not afraid to speak up. And that's what I will do if I am elected as VP of broadcast.
Thank you, Daniela. Next, we will hear from McNelly Torres, who's running for VP Digital. McNelly most recently had been serving as the General Officer. She could not be here with us today, but she sent us a video, a little message. Go ahead.
Buenas noches, mi gente linda. Les hablo desde Vieques, Puerto Rico. My name is McNelly Torres, and I'm a longtime NAHJ member and an investigative reporter based in South Florida. I am running for VP of Online. 2 years ago, you elected me to serve you as your at-large officer. Since then, I've been involved in numerous efforts, from the Investigative and Data Task Force, where we have been working diligently to provide training, but also address the issues of the lack of Latinos producing investigative work, and also in management roles. Last year, I led the Committee on the Hall of Fame. And I'm also leading the Committee on the Rapid Response Team. We are constantly working on inequities and injustice in newsrooms across the board. And lastly, I've been involved from day one on the Strategic Planning Committee, which is going to take us into the future. And this is why I'm asking for your support. I want to work to make sure that we update the bylaws, but also we restructure the board to make it more democratic. And frankly, we need to work to make this conference more affordable. I know what it's like to be the underdog. I've been the underdog my whole life. You know, people look down on me because I don't speak with pretty words, I don't come from Ivy League college, and frankly, because I have an accent. But you know what? I have never allowed that to deter me to do what I wanted to do. I don't drag my feet. I get the work done. If I didn't do any of those things, I would have never been able to accomplish the things that I have done out this year. As a beat reporter working in newspapers across the country, I was able to carve my way and do investigative reporting while feeding the dailies. At the same time, I want you to know that I'm here for you. And you know that. Many of you have contacted me in the past few years. Good leaders delegate. Good leaders are humble enough to accept when they are wrong. And good leaders tap into the expertise of their own team because that makes them look good. And good leaders give credit where credit is done. That's what leadership is all about. I want to take this moment at the same time to acknowledge NAHJ staff because without them, we can't do half the things that we do. They're so important and we gotta thank them. Please take the time and thank them when you can, okay? So thank you for supporting me, but also contact me at watchdogdivar.torres@nhj.org. And lastly, last year, I became a lifetime member because I believe in this organization and I believe the potential. So thank you so much for your support. Gracias.
Wonderful video from McNally. Thank you. Next, we will hear from Marilyn Garatex, who is running for financial officer. Marilyn. Can we please unmute Marilyn?
Marilyn's muted.
I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So first I would like to say that in 2 years' time, NHJ is going to turn 40. And we have already much to celebrate. We have over 4,000 members and we have we have billions in scholarships awarded. But first I would like to thank the current board for their service. Led by Nora López, I believe that they have accomplished a lot. And I believe led by Yvette Cabrera, as president, we will accomplish a lot more. I believe that one of the reasons that I'm running is that I want to help be part of that future. Yes, Nora is a rock star. I would like to be part of that future of NHJ. I would like to be around to celebrate that 40th anniversary. Let me step back for a second and tell you a little bit about myself and my NHJ story. My NHJ story begins one year after college. Like many of you, I was in an intern program learning how to be a journalist. And it was an intern program focused on minority journalism. But I had a rough year. I was out in Los Angeles and I missed my family very much. And then everything that could go wrong went wrong. But on my way home on one trip, I stopped at a Dallas conference of NHJ. And I was stunned to see all the people that were like me, and stunned to realize that there was an organization out there that would fight for me to achieve the same results that I was trying to achieve. So during that conference, I got another job. I got a job as an intern at Seattle Times. And that restored my faith in journalism because I was ready to give up on it. Like many of you can sometimes find yourself all alone in the newsrooms. So I know what that feeling is like. And I will work very hard to get more people focused on trying to help journalists figure out what their needs are in order to not be alone in the newsroom. One of the things that I think this board has done well is advocacy. But advocacy needs data. And one of my goals is to try to create data that will help us move forward, move our goals on advocacy forward. My apologies because I'm a little bit nervous about this stuff that I'm talking about because it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me to be part of NHJ now and before. And I would like to serve you in that capacity. One of my goals, I have a couple of goals. One of my goals is to make sure that NHJ is following appropriate accounting guidelines, and that we are budgeting correctly and budgeting for the future. One of the other goals is to make sure the strategic plan has a financial component that will take us into the future. I have watched many boards come and go in NHJ, and many boards have achieved a lot and many boards have not. But I think that one of the things that we're trying to do is to try to make some of this stuff stick. And that's one of my goals, is to make sure that some of this stuff sticks. And I think that, one of the things that we should focus on is the future of NHJ. And I believe that one of the things that I can do best is to use my skills to further NHJ's goals. I have an MBA, and I have been business editor of the Sun Sentinel, and I earned a fellowship with the Wharton School of Business in Pennsylvania. I believe that I can sort of be a good financial officer, a good steward of the financial books, and I believe I can work with our executive director to achieve our financial goals. One of the things that I think is really important in NHJ is giving people chances to do the work, to engage themselves and everything else. I believe we need to engage members in committees and help bring in more views of what we've got to do. The more, the better. And then we take those views and try to come up with appropriate goals to achieve them. I think that one of the things that we also need to do is try to hold people accountable. Recently, and one of the things that I think that our rapid response team does well is respond to people, but we need to be there for members who are struggling. Recently, one of the things that I came across was an NHJ member who was fired, who resigned after being, after she fabricated stuff. NHJ does not condone that, and I do not condone that. We need to be there for our members and try to come up with ways to help them achieve journalism goals correctly and ethically. Thank you so much for taking the time to, I apologize, my service dog is barking. I thank you very much for taking the time to be here to listen to NHJ members. And I welcome anybody to give me feedback and email me and give me important views. I believe that everybody has a chance. All right, look, here's the deal. I have Parkinson's, okay? And it makes me nervous. And when I'm nervous, I shake. And I know that people think that I can't do the job, but I can do the job because when I'm doing numbers, I don't shake. I'm focused on what I'm doing. And so one of the things I care about deeply is NHJ. I've been to many conventions, and I believe it's the people who make NHJ, not NHJ's makes the people. And I believe that the people that I work with on the board will be the people that I will achieve things with. And if you vote for me, then I believe I will be able to achieve the things that I want to achieve. And the reality is that it takes me a little bit longer than everybody else to do things, but it's a physical thing. It's not a mental thing. Parkinson's is a physical disease that strikes you in ways that you cannot imagine. And so I'm very private about it, but I am trying to make people understand that you're not mentally unfit to do this stuff. On the contrary, it's made me more thoughtful and more focused and more intense to achieve things myself. So thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the speeches you're going to hear. And I believe that everybody in this world deserves a space to be themselves and to achieve what they want to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for your words. We appreciate it. Next, we will not be hearing from Jennifer Marcial Ocasio, who is running unopposed for Spanish at large. Unfortunately, Jennifer could not be here with us, and she was unable to send a video. But we can post her email if anybody wants to reach out with her and has any specific thoughts on that position. Next, we will hear from Adriana Chavira, who's running for academic at large. Adriana.
Buenas tardes, soy Adriana Chavira. Or if you're not bilingual, I go by Adriana as well. I have no preference. Thank you. I've been a high school journalism teacher for 16 years. I've actually been passionate about journalism since the age of 13 when I decided I wanted to be a newspaper reporter. I worked on my high school newspaper for 2 years. And then in college here in Southern California, I wrote and edited for my paper for 2 semesters. And then I spent a decade working at 4 different daily newspapers here in Southern California. 19 years ago, I switched careers and I went into education at the high school level. But journalism still remains my passion. Which is why I've been a journalism teacher for 16 years. And I've been getting students into journalism, and I'm seeing them already in careers in newsrooms across the country. And as you probably know, journalism educators are at the forefront of increasing the number of Latinos in newsrooms. And as academic at-large officer, I would continue to support NAHJ's goals by expanding our outreach to high schools to ensure that students are receiving a solid journalism foundation, because obviously that helps lead the pipeline into college and then obviously newsrooms. For more than a decade, I've been creating partnerships to help improve the journalism program at my school and support other journalism teachers in Southern California. I'm confident I can increase more partnerships between NAHJ and schools across the country. I've already spoken with some national organizations for journalism teachers, and they definitely are interested in expanding their diversity programs as well, not just in terms of diversity in the newsroom, but also diversity in coverage. And some possible ideas to create a better pipeline from scholastic journalism to college and then into newsrooms include pairing more journalists with high schools and colleges to serve as mentors and monitor those mentorships, help students better prepare for internships. And I'm glad that several of the candidates today have spoken about internships, getting more students, particularly high school students, into summer workshops to begin getting them enthusiastic about journalism at an earlier stage. Way back when I was a newspaper reporter, I did volunteer with high school journalism workshops, and I really loved that. And that's actually, that experience made me decide to go into high school journalism, because I really enjoyed seeing the enthusiasm that students had once they, saw their first story, their first byline, their first photo credit. So I really hope we can offer more of those. I also would want to offer more fellowships for students to get internships or to attend the NAHJ convention and career fairs. Way back in the day, a scholarship to attend an out-of-town job fair led me to an internship during college. As a first-generation college student back then, I was strapped for money, so that scholarship was very much welcomed. And just an aside, all my journalism jobs were the results of connections made at journalism fairs. So I know how important NAHJ career fair is. And I've used many of these strategies with my own high school journalism students, and I'd love to implement these across the country with your support and the rest of the NAHJ board if I'm elected academic at-large officer. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Adriana. Next, we will hear from a candidate for general at-large, Luis Joel.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Just before starting with my statement, I just want to clarify 2 things. If I'm sweating, it's because I'm in Puerto Rico, so it's very hot here. And in the second place, if you hear somebody screaming to the cats, that's my grandma. So please, I apologize. I'm Mendez Gonzalez. I'm a former board member. I was a student rep in 2020, one of the best experiences of my life. And I've been also an NAHJ student member since I was a freshman in the University of Puerto Rico at Arecibo. I'm really willing to run for this position as General at-Large Officer because I want to give back. NAHJ not just provide me funding, networking, and internships, training programs to become the investigative reporter that I always wanted to be. I have to be honest, I'm currently a reporter at the Center for Investigative Journalism thanks to NAHJ. So I have my working job thanks to this association. But most importantly, what I really owe to NAHJ, it's who I am. For many time, I pretended to be somebody else to really please other people. And NHJ really teach me that I could embrace my uniqueness, I could embrace who I am, and I could still inspire other people. As a brown person, as a Latino from Puerto Rico, and also as an openly gay man. Of course, I also want to get to the position because I have goals and I have a lot of initiatives that I want to accomplish. And I also want to support the good initiatives that are actually ongoing with the current board of directors, like the strategic plan. But among the goals that I really want to accomplish in the first place, it's updating the bylaws. I remember that I was a member of the bylaws committee back in 2020, and it was pretty frustrating seeing how after months of hard work, those changes weren't approved. But I believe that we can't give up. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, you need to work hard to achieve it. And I'm the living example of that. And that's what I want to do now with the bylaws, especially because I want to give student members the right that they should have to vote for all the board of directors on the elections, and also give the student rep the power to vote for all matters on the board. My second goal will be organizing a freelance committee, because I believe that sadly, especially Latino freelance reporters are often overlooked, and they are currently facing a lot of challenges. Of course, I want to help lead this freelance committee so they can find funding, so we can provide them money to attend our conference, because many of them, they can afford a conference, but many of them can't afford the hotel, or they can't afford the flight. So that's a challenge that we should look to how to get that people to the conference, and also how we can grant them free scholarships or free money so they can also afford their memberships. That's absolutely important for me. And of course, also another goal that I have that I'm really passionate about is about the diversity task force. What I'm really intending with this diversity task force is to keep alive the Afro-Latino committee that has actually done a lot of good work, but I also want to expand it to also give economic opportunities, to look funding so we can give also scholarships to Indigenous students, to LGBTQ students, and of course also disabled students. And also if we have the money, of course, and the funding, we can also give money to professional and regular members, because they also deserve to. For me, it's an honor being here. As I mentioned, I'm a very passionate person. I'm very honest, I'm very transparent also, but I think we all in the board are big dreamers and also big troublemakers. We will have our arguments, but that's what makes NAHJ wonderful. We are like a family, and family often discuss, family often argue, but we all love each other. And that's what I feel for this association. When I see another NAHJ member, I feel like it's familia, and I really mean it. I remember being a few weeks ago at IRE and seeing another NAHJ member was like, hey, tú eres miembro de NAHJ, okay, que bien conocerte, because you can really feel that way. You can feel that connection. And that's why I'm really passionate about this association, because I owe a lot who I am to it, but I also feel very connected to it. It hurts me when I see that it's really facing a lot of challenges, but I'm also get happy when I see people on the board doing great things for this association. We are not perfect, of course, but here we are to work and to make the work done and to make it better. Thank you for your attention. And of course, another note, I want to take a few seconds to say that tomorrow I will have a virtual town hall. It will be something informal. It's not organized by the current board of directors. It's important to note, just to know and to have some feedback about what things you really want to see improved or changed in the bylaws. Because as Iris mentioned, it's important hearing what you want to see different in the board. And I think that NAHJ, one of the biggest challenges of NAHJ is hearing people outside of the leadership. And that's what I'm trying to do with this initiative. And I will also drop out in the chat a link so you can download my proposal if I'm elected to this position, so you can really be aware of what things I want to do and how I'm going to do it. Because I have a plan. Yes, I want to do things, but I know how to do it. I have the experience, and I also have the instructions about how I will achieve it. Y perdón mi acento, but English is not my first language, but somehow I'm proud that my English has improved in this last few years. I remember in my first convention, I didn't speak any English, so cheers for me. Gracias por todo. Un placer conversar con ustedes.
Luis Joel, your English is just perfect. Gracias. Next, we will hear from Estefania Mitre, who is running for general at large. Estefania.
Hi, hello folks. I want to introduce myself first. I'm Estefania Mitre, and I stumbled upon journalism by accident. I have been a member of NHA ironically since 2020, and NHA brought me some relief, some through the workshops and conferences that were adapted to due to the circumstances. It made me hopeful about my future. While I recognize that this organization has been a good tool, I recognize that I would love to see more Gen Z journalists with different perspectives and backgrounds nurturing the organization and allowing us to build a stronger comunidad. A little bit about me. I'm currently based in Washington, D.C. I was born and raised in Juarez, Mexico, and lived through the wave of violence from the late 2000s, which itself inspired me to utilize my voice. I'm a visuals producer at NPR, where I've been leading the creation of bilingual picture show, a bilingual venue that showcases visual projects from and about Latinx and Latin America in English and in Spanish. My passion of utilizing my two voices inspired me to launch this campaign and to represent, assure that the voices of other Latinx, future journalists have tools and can break through to the industry para que puedan explotar su potencial. Now you might be wondering, like, what do I bring to the table and what ideas I want to do through as a general at large. So some of the ideas that I want to bring is sharing is caring. I come from an audience engagement background, so I would like to NHA to engage more with their members. So my idea is to bring a 30-minute cafecito at a larger scale through Twitter Spaces and create that sense of community with the younger generations to make them feel that they are connected. One of the things that I experienced as launching my local chapter at my university, at the University of Texas at El Paso, is that there was this disconnection between feeling that, oh, I cannot reach out to this person who works in national. So it's a way for us to connect with more journalists and make them feel that they can utilize their voice and then they can be heard and understand what are the different paths. And so those are the things of Q&A and best practices. Another thing is el valor de nuestras voces. NPR pays 100 bonus for employees performing translations and interpretations. So the ideal is to bring that idea to all of the NHA members and push for that agenda within our networks. Because if we fight together, we can get things done. And if we start having these conversations about what is the worth of us performing some translations, interpretations that otherwise no one else can do. So build that sense of community of multilingual and bilingual Latinx, where they can discuss their salary or how they treat it, so we can fight for the journalists to have better conditions in their workplace. Also build resources for coverage in LGBTQ AA+ Latinx communities and have a committee that can tell us they have an insight on how to report in these communities, because it's important to understand how to report if they're from Latin America, if they are based in the US, and understand what type of language is the correct, and have a guide that will serve as a guideline for other networks and media organizations, so we can all understand and represent properly all our people. So I hope I can get your support and bring more oportunidades to the Latinx journalists and grow together con ustedes. If you would like to connect with me and share ideas to bring to NHA, you can reach out through via Twitter, Estefania M. Mitre, or through my email. I will drop everything in the chat, and thank you so much for your time.
Muchas gracias, Estefania. And then lastly, we will hear from Brenda Elizondo, who's running for student rep. Brenda.
Hola a todos, un placer conocerlos por este medio. I would like to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to be here and listen to everyone talk. I would like to start off by introducing myself. I am Brenda Lisando, and I'm currently a Cal State Fullerton student. And throughout my college years, I've been an executive producer for our Spanish newscast called Al Día, which is our Emmy Award-winning Spanish newscast at campus. I've also been part of the student chapter of CSUF called Latino Journalists for about 4 years. And I'm also an NBC Universal Fellow, and I've had my work recognized through some organizations like SBJ, RTNA, and PPA-GLA. and more. But I'd say that one of my greatest accomplishments is really giving back to my peers in any way that I can. And being a first generation student and wanting to make it into an industry of connections with zero connections seems almost impossible when you start from scratch. I've learned to take advantage of any opportunity given to me in order to grow and learn as a student and as a professional. Becoming part of support systems like my student chapter at TSUF and NAHJ has helped me get to where I am today, which is why I am trying to, well, this is why I'm running for the student rep position in effort to reciprocate that to other students nationally. In hopes to get elected as the student representative of NAHJ, I'm committed to represent and embody each and every student from the Latinx journalism nationally at a national level. And I'm also honored and humbled by the support and trust given by the students that were able to nominate me for me to be part of this forum today. So some of the goals that I would like to share today, the ones that I will be proposing, is that I would like to continue with the student committee. And for those of you that don't know what the student committee is, it's actually a committee made up of students that our current student rep is using to facilitate the help of reaching out to student chapters along the region. And that's something that I would like to continue. That way I can help connect, continue and strengthen that communication between the chapters. That way we can have a better understanding of what's going on. I'm also planning on trying to continue to help grow and help the up and coming chapters. I am aware I believe there's a San Francisco, they're trying to start and grow their student chapter. I've been in contact with them, so that's something that I really want to help grow. Also, with this student committee, I am wanting to do panels, whether it's mental health in the newsroom, because it is a high demanding industry, and I want to help students better understand and help them prepare for how to manage stress, how to manage being burnt out, overwhelming. I would like to give like panels regarding that, also an ethics course, and then also how to better prepare for an internship or a job interview. That's one of the goals that I am planning to act on. And then also I'm still trying to work on how to better pick those students for the student committee. But I do know that I am looking for a student that specializes in investigative reporting. And that leads to my second goal, which is that I want to create this database that includes all the NAHJ members and students that are active at their student chapters. That way we can better understand what obstacles they have, any financial burdens, if they're struggling to get internships, and if their campus even has like a support group or support system for Latino students that are trying to make it in journalism and communications. And then lastly, because of that, I do want to initiate this kind of like a mini scholarship program within the student committee, where we do recognize stories that highlight underserved communities, kind of like the one that I come from, and also benefit students that are low income. I'm aware that there are scholarships in NAHJ, but I know that any financial help can mean a lot to students that are first gen and students like myself that really depend on these scholarships to get to where we are today. So in other words, my goal is to give back to the students from NAHJ, and I hope to get the support of students and get the votes for this year's elections. And I just want to say thank you for having me. Any feedback or advice, I'm very open to it. And I'll go ahead and leave my social handles on the comment section.
Brenda, muchas gracias. It's always so good to hear from our students because I don't know, it's always inspiring to me. I see myself in you. I think many of us see ourselves in these young students, and we're so hopeful about all of our students and the great things that we know that they're going to bring, and they're going to make us proud. So muchas gracias, Brenda. Okay, that took about as much as time as I thought it was going to take. We will set aside, I will commit to 15 minutes of any questions from our audience. If you will have a question, you can either put it on chat or raise your hand. Well, probably chat is going to be easier at this point. So So any questions from our audience? Really, guys, you're a room full of journalists.
I think it's also the time that it takes to type out the question.
Well, then just somebody raise their hand and we'll call on you if you have a question for one of our candidates.
Shall we just talk? You want me to
Yes,
just
go
talk?
for it. Yes.
This is
Vale.
Diana Fuentes, a lifetime member of NHJ. Arelis mentioned the bylaws committee, I know, and there was some talk about that. So is that something we're still looking at, Arelis? Are we looking? I know there's some, well, we've talked about that for many years now, trying to update the bylaws. Is that something in the works?
Yes, so part of why the assembling of the committee has been delayed has in part because, one, we needed to find a new executive director, and that took priority, the entire process. And that was what, 8 months, or no, that was 6 months, right?
It was a while.
It was a while. And then simultaneously was the strategic plan. And so we wanted to make sure that the bylaws, the goals for the bylaws comported then with whatever the goals we had for the strategic plan were. I didn't want to assemble a committee and then waste everyone's time while these other processes were coming together. I will tell you, and hopefully I have permission from David to share this, but we have in the background been conducting an audit, working with a nonprofit attorney to take a look at our bylaws. Number one, for legal issues, there are a bunch of places, as you well know, where the bylaws contradict itself and we could be legally liable. And so we thought, I am not a legal expert, nor is anyone who has ever served on the bylaws before. So we wanted to take that really important step first. And I think I have the audit now. So that we have something to sink our teeth into as a new bylaws committee to take a look at the things that we can really do and the suggestions that are at play. So I'm looking forward, Dee Dee, having you on the bylaws committee reconstituted if elected. So
Okay, yes, I'm interested in that. Always like the bylaws, love being parliamentarian and all that. So yeah, I was interested in that. So good. Yeah, happy to help wherever I can.
For those in our audience who don't know this, Dee Dee is a former board member and is a whiz and has a lot of institutional knowledge about NAHJ. So someone we should definitely take advantage of. Okay, gracias, Dee Dee. Any other questions? Really, at this point, just unmute yourself and ask. Yoli, go ahead, Yoli.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for doing this. I'm not sure if anyone here could really answer this question, but like thinking back to like the work that's been done with the conference and just a lot of the work that's ongoing that like NHJ staff has to do that goes beyond what the board is capable of doing. Any thoughts on just how the organization is going to grow with the help of a bigger staff or with the help of more permanent people who can handle things that are not just handled by a committee every couple of months, but like is actually part of NHJ and like can carry that kind of institutional knowledge? I'm not sure if the board has any say on that, but just wondering, like, you know, we look at other organizations and they have a lot bigger staff than NHJ does. And I think as we keep growing, that could be a priority for some people.
No, we totally agree. It's one of those things that's addressed in the strategic plan. And when we hired David, we told him, we know you need more staff, but we also need to figure out how to pay for that staff. And so he has been charged with doing that, with taking a close look at our budget and then making a proposal, because we totally agree that we need more staff. We would love for him to have a deputy that can really help with the load, and also to leave us in a better position if something happened again, like when Alberto left us, that we have somebody kind of in the wings who can keep things going, and so that we don't lose momentum. So I know that that you're on target with on point with that point, Yoli, but I will let Yvette, who's running for president, also address this question.
Yes, thank you, Yoli, for the great question. I will add to what Nora said that one of the things we're doing right now with the strategic plan is working with staff to come up with an implementation plan. We know that everything can't be done in the first year, second year, third year. So we're coming up with steps. And a big part of that is asking the question, what do we think we can raise in terms of money for staff so that we can do all these, we all have great dreams for NAHJ, but with the staff that we have right now and with the board that we have right now, what can we do? And as we raise more money, then we'll expand. And definitely, programming for the conference is so important. I know you know that because you've overseen it. And we definitely know that the skills building, that sort of development that we've switched around, like under the leadership of Robert Hernandez when he was on the board, in making sure that we're providing those types of skills at the conference is so important, because people invest a lot of money to go. We know it's expensive. We want it to be value added. So definitely that's definitely top of mind for us. Thank you for the great question.
I wanted to add on something, if I may. It's making emphasis that one of the most important things, and this is something that is in the strategic plan and something that we have spoken to David about, is the current board. One of our goals is to have a deputy director for the NAHJ, not only to have overlap between either the executive director or the deputy director, their contract being up, them retiring, they're leaving, moving somewhere else, but with a deputy director, especially if part of their responsibilities include fundraising, that means it would be, while the current staff are focused with, actually serving our members with everything they do every single day, with two people fundraising, both the executive director and the deputy director, that by itself brings in more money. So we do have to figure out how to pay for things from the start, but it should be, if things go well, self-sufficient at one point. And then, like I said, with staggered terms between the executive director and the deputy director, that makes sure that there's always someone in leadership, no matter, whose contract is up or where someone may go to. And that's part of the strategic plan, something that, us current board members are trained on and know where the organization is heading.
Thank you, Julio Cesar. Audience members, any other questions? Just raise your hand or unmute.
I'm not part of the audience, but I wanted to mention something that Madeline talked about during her statement, and for me, it's very important. I think that what happened with this Latina journalist, sadly, at the USA Today, it's something that we as an association should address. Sadly, we are facing complicated times, especially in the newsrooms. We can't excuse what she did because she did it wrong. But believe me, especially young reporters are facing so much pressure, covering breaking news, managing social media, trying to be successful in the pandemic. Really talk about how we can really help out and teach young reporters to really achieve their goals in an ethical way. Because again, many of these reporters got hired. Are working sometimes 2-3 times more, updating numbers about the COVID-19 pandemic without any mentorship, without any, even sometimes without any editor, because they just have to publish what they write without any editing process. And I can talk a lot about it, and that's something that is really happening in industry, and we should address, because then when somebody makes a mistake, and especially a Latina or Latino, then we got a backlash, and we have to face 2 or 3 times more tougher consequences that other people that maybe have a privilege that we don't have as people of color. So I'm really thankful that Madeline talked about it, and I hope that the board, if I'm elected or not, that doesn't matter, but I hope the board can really address it in the future, because that's something that we should really care about regarding our younger members.
Yeah, just wanted to jump in on that. I think it's really important that we find people like that, a support system. Like I mentioned, one of my goals is to provide training for mental health. And I feel like, if we do more of that, provide more help with mental health and more training to address burnout, that would help too. And one of the other things is, we can train, but I just think it's really crucial for us to be that support system.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Appreciate it. Okay, if we do not have any more questions, then we'll go ahead and let everybody
Nora.
go. Yes,
Nora,
Mary. Go
When
for
will
it.
when will the strategic plan be released? Because we talked a lot about it, and I just want, the members to know when it's gonna be released. If you have any idea of that.
We have a meeting tomorrow to try to settle on a date. We do want to release it at least, the Monday before our conference, sooner if possible, so that folks can, have a chance to look at it. We expect that to be a big topic of conversation for the membership meeting on Saturday. So
Right.
yes, it's important that we get it out, and I think tomorrow we'll have that answer. We would have loved to have had it out, but there's just been one problem after another, COVID and so forth.
Right.
But our plan is to try to get it out no later than that Monday, August 1st.
Okay.
And post it on our website, send it out in an email, so that our Uber NAHJ members who have the time and who want to make the time to review it will have that opportunity.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Nora, I have a question for you.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, for you. What advice do you have? I mean, since you're the president, what advice do you have for the people running for re-election or running for office? I mean, being in this position, you had a lot of warnings. You've had to juggle your job. People forget that you're volunteers. I know you get nasty emails, as I do too. Tell us, inspire these people. What advice do you have? And would you do anything differently?
That's a good question. I think there were two things, two pieces of advice. The first one was time. That you're gonna have to give up some of your personal time after you're done with work on the weekends. You are gonna have this job will demand that you give up some of your personal time to devote for it. Porque todos tenemos que trabajar, and I know we've all heard it from our parents, el trabajo primero. But then NAHJ. So time is the biggest, most important thing that you are going to have to make a personal sacrifice in order to do this job. And so I really applaud all of these candidates who have said, okay, I'm willing to give up some of my personal time to give back to NAHJ because I want to see NAHJ succeed. And then the other thing that I would say, and this is advice I give to, people who are in leadership roles or who are thinking about going into leadership roles, and that is, be confident in the decisions that you make, own them. Sometimes they're not quite right, or maybe you didn't have the desired result that you would have wanted. And those are the instances where you have to try to learn from it. What could you do different next time? But as a journalist, we do our job is 365 days a year. I don't think a lot of people recognize that we work through weekends. And we have shifts that are night shifts and weekend shifts. So we get a chance to do it every day. And so all you can do is learn from the decisions that you make so that you can do it better, smarter, the next time around. But own it. They are part of you. They're gonna shape you. And if I believe that if the members see that, you have integrity, and you are owning that decision, then you will have folks who believe in you and trust you. So that's my advice, Yvette, and to the rest of the members, candidates. Thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca, for those of you who may not know, is president of SPJ and a former NAHJ board member, and a dear friend and mentor to me. Gracias.
It's the other way around too. I find many of you as mentors, and I'm going to give a piece of advice here. Find a mentor. Find someone who will tell you the truth. There are people that will say, Rebecca, you're too loud sometimes, or this or that. I have my own mentors. I've called Nora. Nora, what do you think about this? Find a mentor who tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And also, if you have goals, you know, don't make promises, because especially people running for re-election, you know, I want to know what you've done, how you did it, and why didn't you do it in the past 2 years? So, you know, I've had the talk with many of you, but, you know, I'm inspired. I love NHJ, and I'm inspired by all of you who are run. Thank you, because believe me, it is a job, and people don't realize we don't get paid. I wish I did.
It's a volunteer. Thank you, Rebecca. And again, I don't want to cut anybody off. So going once, going twice, if anybody else has a question or a comment. And if not, I nos vemos. Yvonne, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's on mute, sorry.
If not, nos vemos in Vegas. I'm looking forward to meeting this board for the first time ever in person. Gracias.